Say hello to travelersan. Through the creative use of game mechanics, and at times glitches, we're on a quest to see just how much of Genshin Impact can be completed using only the Traveler. And we sometimes break things. If you enjoyed the series, do make sure to like and subscribe. It helps travelersan out a lot. Well, this might be a problem, yeah? Grab your thinking caps, because we're jumping right into this episode's biggest hurdle, activating the 4 Pyro monuments in Xinyan's Mirage. It's important to understand the mechanics of the puzzle we're dealing with, and all external factors too. We'll begin with those. First up, the domain itself, Xinyan's Mirage. Like all the Mirages, progress is saved. This is unique to these Mirages, as normal domains reset upon leaving, and it's actually a pretty big detriment to travelersan if there's a puzzle or challenge that he fails and it cannot be reset through the use of Traveler only. That means the goal of 100% completion of the archipelago with only the Traveler will no longer be reachable. Another issue is that enemies don't respawn. Enemies have helped plenty in the past with solving problems by inflicting travelersan with elements that he can swirl. We'll have to be extra careful when choosing to defeat enemies, as it's an irreversible decision. Then there is the puzzle itself, the monuments. Thankfully, these things are not on timers, and because the Mirage, despite its many load screens, is all one big map, they won't deactivate if going through a load screen. If you watched the previous episode, that statement may have sparked an idea. Yup, this domain is all one map. The solution, then, is to carry Pyro. Carry Pyro through the entire domain. Travelersan is about to become the Human Torch. Flame on! So, what will be our source of Pyro? There are torches here, but we won't be using those. The torch route requires some very precise timing, and to be honest, I'm not entirely confident it'll work. This gap would need to be crossed for it to do so, and that distance is really far. We're going to need the aid of an enemy. The Pyro Abyss Mage? No, his location doesn't work. One can't go back the way they came in this portion of the domain, at least not until you get to the very end. That just leaves our buddy here, the big Pyro Slime. This is our source. Pyro needs to be carried from this location to the clear other end of the domain. Various shrubs and patches of grass will allow travelersan to refresh Pyro status. So that it's clear what's going on, I'll let one whole lap play out, and we'll explain along the way. First up, let the slime inflict Pyro. As mentioned, enemies do not respawn, so it is important that this fella doesn't accidentally hop off the cliff. These shrubs in particular can be lit on fire. They don't burn for long, but they will reset Pyro status despite not causing burn damage. Another shrub, and then have to bolt through the door. To then set the grass ablaze. Alright, this is the home stretch. Perform with the guitar, rush to reset Pyro by setting the shrub on fire, and finally, the first monument is activated. And now to do that 3 more times.
Maybe I wasn't meant.
Oops. It was at this moment he would soon realize his luck took a turn for the worse. Well, at least they don't reset if travelersan gets KO'd.
Windblade!
Finally done.
Windblade!
No. No. Did I activate them in the wrong order?
Windblade!
Oh, this is terrible. It's one thing to have to redo the puzzle because the order is wrong, but it's a whole nother to have to activate all these monuments again just to have a shot at redoing the puzzle, because the last one hit stays active when the puzzle resets, which means to be able to have this left one active first, it has to be the last one hit in a failed attempt. What were they thinking? Alright, nearly there. If I use this bush reset correctly.
Windblade!
Victory, no matter the cost. Even if the cost is a modicum of sanity. But if I'm being honest, this is actually such a cool solution. Had I not messed it up to begin with, it wouldn't have taken the hour that it did, but maybe 15 minutes. There's actually one more Pyro monument in this Mirage. It's in the same room as our friend, the Pyro slime. So before we backstab our pal for the treasure, gonna need one more small favor. Awesome. And because I really want to make sure nothing else requires Pyro, I went through and gathered all the other chests. You get to live a while longer, Pyro slime buddy. Here's something interesting, and I don't mean the weirdness of the hilichurls not becoming aggressive, although that is interesting as well. The reverberating key is the interesting thing. Did you know you can keep this? It's not needed to fully loot this domain. While this locked door does lead to a time trial with a treasure chest, you've likely already noticed that I was taking this route when completing the Pyro Monument puzzle. That's because this door is only locked from one side. Just cross the gap with GeoTraveler, hit the drum, and voila! I'm curious to know if this key will remain after 2.8. Unlike other event items, it does not have an expiration icon. Could be a cool little memento of this journey. Oh. Well, I'm sure it's nothing to sweat over. Okay. This is just not going to work, so it's time to get creative and implement my ultimate go-to strategy, as well as one of my favorite things to do in video games. Push enemies off cliffs. Surely somewhere around here there's an area that will work. Aha, this might. Victory, no matter the what? Okay, I think this has to be the one. It jets out far enough that there's no land beneath. That's one down. Oh, shoot. Panic totally hit me here. Let's just glide safely over here, yeah? Climbing up might be rough with all those slimes being tossed down here, but I think it will be manageable. What? Okay, did I win? That was terrifying. Aha! I did win. One more remains. It's time. Pyro Slime, you are no longer of any use to travelersan. Goodbye. Oh, there was another? Guess there was a second chance had the slime hopped off the cliff. And with that, Xinyan's domain is finished. Now that felt like a proper in-game dungeon. The travelersan restrictions made the place into a wonderful, very engaging challenge. Only 2 domains remain on this Golden Apple Archipelago vacation: Fischls and Monas. Of course, there are still a handful of interesting overworld puzzles, as well as the domain combat challenges, and we'll get to all of those next time, in the conclusion of travelersan's island adventure. Well, probable conclusion. If I'm being honest, I make these episodes weekly as I go along, and everyone knows how easily sidetracked I get if I stumble across something super interesting. Just look at the 4-episode Inazuma sidetrack. Anyways, many thanks for taking the time to watch. If you enjoyed the series, leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and sharing the video are all great ways to show just that. It is verily appreciated. This is Musashi and travelersan with an asterisk, signing off. Till next time.